The International Monetary Fund's mission chief for Sri Lanka, Evan Papageorgiou, says the 50% surcharge imposed by Sri Lanka on motor vehicle imports was against commitments agreed by Sri Lanka under the Extended Fund Facility Programme. He said this addressing the media in Colombo yesterday upon completion of the week-long visit to review the recent macroeconomic developments and discuss the authorities' progress in implementing their economic reform programme.
Sri Lanka imposed a 50% surcharge on motor vehicle imports in May this year in an attempt to discourage new vehicle imports after Sri Lanka faced with balance of payment issues. The finance ministry said after this surcharge was imposed, the daily vehicle import spending has come down to $3.79 million, now from the previous daily average of $7 million. IMF mission chief expressed views on this surcharge at yesterday's media conference.
The increase for vehicles for the surcharge from 30% to 45%, that did trigger that PC because it was a tightening of that requirement. In other words, went against the commitment. We discussed it with the authorities at the time when that came out, and we understood from the authorities that this was a temporary measure put in place for 3 months, put in place in order for them to deal better with the strong import growth that was taking place at the time. And because of the BOP nature of that triggered this input restriction requirement. We discussed it and we took this case to our executive board while we were evaluating the 5th and the 6th review, and our board was convinced that this indeed was meant to be temporary. There were corrective actions on the back of that, on the basis that they were going to be rolled back by the end of that 3-month period.
Meanwhile, Vehicle Importers Association of Sri Lanka said although the demand for vehicles remain intact despite the surcharge, the purchasing power of the consumer has been cut through the imposition of loan-to-value ratio by the central bank.
That is what's actually hindering the demand rather than the surcharge. It's almost like, because what happened was, we already had vehicles on the way. We already had vehicles that we have ordered. So anyways, we can't cancel those orders. So now what's happening is, once the vehicles have arrived, people are still willing to buy, but the purchasing power has been cut down because of this loan-to-value ratio. So I think a better method would have been, they should have imposed a margin on the letters of credit. We all feel like the support we are getting in return is very minimal from all the stakeholders involved, the government involved, the treasury involved, from the customs side, from the RMB side. So the support we are getting for the revenue that we are providing is very poor.
Meanwhile, the latest data issued by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka reveals the expenditure on motor vehicle imports has risen upwardly, surpassing the $1 billion mark within the first 5 months of 2026. The total expenditure for vehicle imports for the month of May alone had reached $250 million. It includes imports for both personal and commercial purposes and represents a significant 20% increase compared to the spending recorded in April 2026. A detailed breakdown of the May figures indicates that the majority of the outflow was driven by personal vehicle imports, which accounted for $207.8 million. The cost for importing commercial vehicles stood at $42.3 million for the same period.